pisses me off. Anyways, Sabonis is out with a grade 1 hamstring strain. If you Google NBA hamstring strains and you or use your AI, it says that generally it's a 2 to 3 week miss. The Kings say he will be reevaluated in 1 week. Right. As we said earlier, you can generally tack about a week on to the reevaluation because they have to go through a process of clearing you for contact drills and practice and all that fun stuff. If, in fact, that's the case, in case you're wondering, let's say he does miss 2 weeks, which I think I would take that right now. Yeah. If you told me, because it certainly could be longer, and by the way, it might be a couple of days shorter, but if you told me right now that Domantas Sabonis was just simply going to miss 2 weeks and that's it, that means he would be eligible to return on the 17th of March, and that game is against Memphis at home, followed by Cleveland at home. They're on that home stand where they go Memphis, Cleveland, Chicago, Milwaukee, Boston, OKC, Portland. That's a stretch.
Yeah, in this entire month, they basically play every day, every other day. There's 2 stretches where they don't play for 2 days, and that's next week, the 11th and the 12th, so that'd be a little bit earlier than we expect. And then the following weekend, the 15th and 16th, they don't play. So that lines up with your 17th kind of as a...
That's where it would be.
Who knows?
But that's if he's out 2 weeks.
Who knows? He's the important thing is he's reevaluated in a week. So I think at the minimum, you take him through this week, which is tonight.
Yeah.
Denver, De'Aaron's return on Friday, and then the Clippers on Sunday.
Wouldn't it be interesting if both De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis did not play in that game? All right. So, yeah, he won't. That's right. I hadn't thought about that. He'll miss the home game against San Antonio, and he'll likely miss at Clippers home Knicks. But, again, we'll see. And, by the way, if he was we know he'll be out at least a week, which that means if they reevaluate, I think the earliest he could possibly be back would be really early would be home Knicks, which is on the 10th.
But then there's 2 more days off.
They're just at Golden State. So I think on the early side, we're looking at Golden State. On the probable side, we're looking at Memphis and Cleveland. I think that's the favorite in the clubhouse right now. And then obviously, of course, he could be out longer.
Yeah.
But let's not contemplate that until that actually happens. The Kings have re-signed, as we mentioned earlier, Skal Labissiere, former Kings draft pick who has been working his butt off. I love stories like this. Skal was once upon a time the number. We all know the story. If you're around back then, he was the number 2. Some say number 1 recruit out of high school, going to Kentucky. Then I remember when we drafted him, there were those that said that John Calipari kind of misplayed him at Kentucky. He left. He came out. He was one of the picks we had when we had. It was Malachi Richardson, Skal Labissiere.
Traded for Bogey.
Traded for Bogdan Bogdanovic. That would have been the Marquise Chris draft, I think. And did we have one more? No, I don't think we did.
I
don't know. Anyways, obviously, he was here. He had that game winner, I want to say. What was it, against the Knicks at home, the 3. But he's been working his tail off. And
he's kind of emergency, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I would also say this. Look, back to the Sabonis thing, I said, look, there's a little bit of good news on that side. It's one of those good news, bad news things. Obviously, it's bad news he's out. Two things of good news. Number one, when he's just running down the floor or jogging down the floor and that happens, you're instantly like, oh, my God, he tore his hamstring. It's a strain, which I understand is a type of tear, but whatever. The fact that they're saying they'll reevaluate him in a week. Now, look, let's be really clear here. On the pessimistic side, they're saying they're going to reevaluate him in a week. That doesn't mean he's going to get reevaluated and cleared, by the way. But it's also a grade 1, not 2 or 3 hamstring. Correct. So that one they're not going to stretch. You
just don't mess around with this.
Don't mess around. It comes at a really bad time, but also credit the front office. We were all screaming for Jonas Valančiūnas, and you could get him for a couple of second-round picks, blah, blah, blah. I tend to include Jonas. I know this is cheating a little bit, but I do include him in the De'Aaron Fox trade, even though it's not a direct thing, but I do include him in that. Them making the Fox trade made it possible because they did not have the picks to grab Jonas Valančiūnas, and he has just come in and done, I think, everything we hoped he would do. By the way, he almost ripped Alperen Şengün's face off when they got tied up. Yeah. He adds muscle and beef. Not that Domas is, a twig, but I think it's safe to say Jonas
is a mountain.
He is an absolute mountain, and he's I think, a little more aggressive minded than Sabonis.
Yeah, and the amount of times he gets his body in the way where he blasts people, but he doesn't move his arms. Yeah. And so he doesn't get called for fouls. They're like, man, there's so much contact there, but he's just standing there. He's massive.
I would never want. He's that guy. Like, if you ever were walking in a store and you went around the corner and he was coming around the corner and you bumped into him, like, you'd probably land on your butt.
Yeah, and the next thing you're like, why do I? Oh, that's right. I ran into that mountain.
And that's at walking.
Right.
That's not like I didn't talk about maybe him and Steven Adams are probably the worst guys in the league to not see a screen.
Right.
Coming from them, and it would be like you're sitting there. Next thing you know, you're sitting there wondering like little birds are circling your head. he was sublime in that game.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, and I know I've been fighting with people over the weekend about being negative. All I'm saying is, let's please not put the pedestal for Jonas Valančiūnas too high. What I don't want to see. No. What I don't want to see is it being unfair to him that we expect that performance out of him in every single game. Because if he could do that in every single game, I don't think. I mean, I wouldn't say it's borderline all-star numbers, but my God, that's like top 10 center in the league type numbers. What I don't want to see is have him go out against Dallas tonight and be like, I don't know, 12-8 with a block, and people are like, oh, come on, we need you. No, don't elevate him too high to where it's his fault if he doesn't, because that was a phenomenal game. I just don't want people thinking if that's him every game or better, awesome. Here we go. But I don't, sometimes when we get our hopes too high, the fall is what kills you. Let's go out. I'd be happy with a double-double or near double-double every night, and just some big beefy thighs in the key. So here's to that. Fingers crossed. Quick 30-second break. Jason's going to talk to you about overhead when we come back. 3 for Madness. We'll pick tonight's game. What was your favorite?